What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to show you guys the best settings that you need to be using in the Black Ops 7 beta. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Into the graphics, I'm going to showcase the controller settings. Keyboard and mouse, I don't really play that, so I can't really help you guys out for those of you guys who are on keyboard and mouse. This is all preference. You just put whatever buttons you want. Everything I have, obviously, controller is the output. The button layout, I have it set to default. Some people use tactical, it's preference. The horizontal stick and the vertical sense, I have it to 2 and 1.9. I feel like around this area is when you're getting to like the medium, so like maybe around 10 sensitivity. If you play on a higher sensitivity like 15, maybe put it to like 3.5, something like that. It really depends on your sense. I would test them out, but first change the settings before you change the sensitivity itself, because it's going to feel different, especially when you change the FOV and the blur and like the motion blur and all of that stuff. So the rest of the items I have here, off, swapping off, controller vibration, you can turn that off if you want. That's also preference. And then you can also change the intensity depending on how much you want it to vibrate. And then trigger effects, I would recommend that you turn this to off. This is like the haptic stuff, and then it like sort of makes the trigger hard to push, and it's very annoying, so just turn that off. For the dead zone inputs, I would recommend that you do a test if you have an older controller. Usually what you do is you set these to 0, and then you want to click on, and then you just move your controller around. So you just do this, and then you move it around, and then you let it go. And as you see here on the left side, I have a little bit of a stick drift, and as a result of that, I have to turn up my dead zone for the left side. Now, the thing is, I would recommend that you turn the left stick to 0, or at least make sure that it's always active, because this is how rotational aim assist gets activated. If it feels input on the left side, which is moving left to right, that's what triggers the rotational aim assist, and you sort of want that on, and it's like the best way, and it's like a meta. It's something we've been doing for quite a couple of CODs now, so that's what I would recommend you do. You at least have this to 0. I would also recommend you change left trigger to 0 and right trigger to 0, so it's instant and you don't have to worry about how hard you press the button, and then everything else, that depends on your controller. Now, going on into the sensitivity for aiming, sensitivity multiplier, I don't really touch these. These are all default at 1. Looking version, I have it standard. Aiming, advanced settings, I didn't really touch these at all. You can change it to what you want, but I believe dynamic is like the best one here in this case, so I didn't really touch that. And then target aim assist, obviously on, and yeah, left all this at default. Then for the movement sprint assist, I have that set off. In terms of these, I think they're all default. I didn't touch any of these either. And then going on to mantle assist, turn that off. And then I also have everything here in terms of off, as well as tight. Then for the crouch assist, I also have that turned off. You can put it on if you want, crouching assist and all of that when you're going through spots, but I want to do all of that myself. Corner slicing, that's also a feature that if you feel like it's helpful to you, you can use it. I personally want to do everything alone. Turn that off. Wall jump assist off. Active roll assist off. I'm probably not going to be using that. And then for slide size dive behavior, I put it to tap to slide, and then I set it to the medium activation delay. Then for automatic airborne mantle, I have this off. Sprint restore, I have it on. This will save you a lot, because having to spam L3 is very annoying, and that can wear down your controller. Slide maintain sprint, that's also preference, but I have it on. Wingsuit activation, didn't really touch that. Wall jump activation, tap to slide, and then active roll camera, all on the default. For movement advanced settings, I didn't really touch this either, so I have this at free. Sprinting door bash is on, even though I don't think you really need to, because all the doors are out, like they're automatic. You don't need to bash anything in. This is probably just for like Warzone. So for the purpose of the beta, you can just leave it on. And then I have all this on toggle, off, and then on. Now going on to the vehicle behaviors, I didn't touch this. You're probably not going to be driving many vehicles throughout the beta, so you don't really need to bother with that. Going on to the combat, I have ADS behavior on hold, weapon mount activation, ADS, and melee. Dedicated melee on hold, melee body shield finishing. I prioritize the finishing move, and I feel like that's just the best way to go on about it. And then armor plate set to all. C4 detonation, you can do all at once if you throw multiple, or you can do them one by one. I do them all at once. Equipment behavior, have this set on hold. manual fire behavior, have it on press. And then for the combat advanced settings, these are what I have. So not too many changes. I mean, off, on, off. So you can feel free to just pause it and copy these if you want, but I didn't really go through all of those. Didn't touch the scoreboard stuff either, but that's pretty much everything for the controller side of things. Now, for the graphics, if you are on console, you're probably not going to have all these settings. This is mainly for PC. You're going to have everything here. So I have it on full screen borderless because I have multiple monitors. You can also set it on full screen exclusive if you have one. And then going on, I have this set to automatic aspect ratio. All this is pretty much default here. Low latency, have it set on. Eco mode, I have it to custom. VSync, I turned this all off. I feel like it's not worth it. And then for the custom frame rate, I have this set for 250. So basically your hertz for your monitor, and then I put a little bit over. So my monitor 240 hertz, I decided to put 250 for the frames. Anything above that is overkill. For the menu, you don't need that many frames. You can set it to 60 or 120, up to you. And then out of focus, you can also set it to something like 30, which is what I did just to save your PC a little bit. And then I have this on optimal, pause game when rendering off, reduce quality when inactive 10 minutes, and then high dynamic or HDR automatic. And the HDR calibration, I didn't really touch this at all, but you can if you want. And then for the quality, have it set to custom. I usually try to play on higher graphic quality for the purpose of recording videos and things like that. But if you want more of a performance, it's better to set everything to low. But I have it set on fidelity, cast, and I put it to 90. This is where it gives you that crispy look and that good quality footage. Then for NVIDIA DLSS frame regeneration, turn that off. VRAM scale target 70, variable rate shading on, texture resolution. This is where it's like this area right here is like the most important in terms of the quality and what the game looks like. So that's where I have everything mainly set to high. You can set it to like medium or normal, but if your PC can handle it, obviously you may lose some frames. Then this is where you're going to want to adjust them and lower them. You can also use the default here where you could just lower them down if you want to not go through all of the settings, but this is what I have. And then local texture streaming, have that set to default. Shadow and lighting, you don't really need that to be crazy, especially the shadow quality, so I just put that to normal. Screen space shadow, put that to low. Occlusion and screen space lighting, you can also set that to low if you want. I just left it at ultra, and then these two I had that on high, which you could do medium or low. Environment, obviously the environment is important in terms of the terrain quality, so that way you can spot people whenever someone's running around and things like that. So I put that to high. You can also set it to like medium or high. And then volumetric quality, also have it on high. Deferred physics quality, you could probably set this one to low. And then weather grid, you could set all that to low. And then water quality, you could literally turn that off if you want. Now for the view, field of view is the most important in my opinion. 120. It shouldn't be less than that. You should definitely take advantage of 120 so you can see everything there. Motion reduction and this stuff, I have that off. If you're scared of spiders, stuff like that, you could turn that on. And then you also have the ADS field of view. I have it on affected. Weapon field of view, I have it on default. Third person, I have it at 90. Vehicle field of view, default. Turn off world motion blur and weapon motion blur. It's just completely unnecessary. Could literally give you a headache. And then first person camera, third person camera, set these as the lowest possible, so 50%, and that's gonna like stop like the screen shaking and all of that. And that's, yeah. And if you don't want to go blind, inverted flashbang, you can turn that on, or if you like the OG flashbang, you can leave it on off. It just changes the color from white or black whenever you end up getting flashed. Now going into the audio, for master game volume, you should just set it to whatever you're most comfortable with, not something too loud or too low, because this is where you're going to be able to hear all the most important things. I would turn down the gameplay music volume. I think the music is good, but after just sitting in the lobby and playing the game for hours and hours, it's going to get repetitive and it's going to get annoying. So I turned that off. Cinematic music volume, also don't need that. Effects volume, I have it at 100. And dialogue volume, that is just like comms and things like that, I have it set to 90. You can even lower it a little more than that if you want. Audio device, that's all up to you and what you use. I have it at Treyarch mix for the audio mix. Depending on what you want, you can do headphones, bass boost, bass cut, at home theater if you're on like, you know, playing off of your TV. And then mono audio, I have that to off. Mute game when minimized, that's also preference. Mute license music, I just have that on because of creation and non-copyright related stuff, but you can also have that off. I believe like a music player may be coming soon to the game, so that's when it'll be useful. Voice chat stuff, I mean, I have it set to on. You could turn it up if you want to hear people super loud. I don't really want to hear too much people while I'm playing the game, so I have it a little bit lower and all of that. Yeah, just have it set to on. But for the interface that we have here, this is the global stuff. So menu prompts, I have it to automatic. Gameplay tips, tutorials, introduction, movies, and all of that, I have these set to off, and then I like to skip the intro, so turn that on. I like to see kill cam, so I have that off. Tooltips, I have that off. So telemetry in these, if you're on PC, I would recommend you have the FPS counter, server latency, and packet loss, so that way you can see if you're lagging, if you're having any problems with FPS, and you can keep track of that. Everything down here is also preference, so if you want to see your GPU time, the temperature, if you're having stuff like that, problems with those types of things, or you just want to keep track of them, you can also turn that on. And then going on to the telemetry label size, I just have it at default. You can choose to make it larger if you want to see it, but it may distract you from the actual game itself. Network in-game icons on, and then on. Now, for the readability, all this, I have it at default. You can also turn up the, subtitles and the size and all of that stuff. I really don't care about any of this. What I do care about, and the most important thing, is color customization. So here, what I have this set is to custom. You can set any of these that you want, but I just use the custom one. But here's where you change things up. So first, you go down to color filter, change that to color filter 2. It has more of a vibrance, and the saturation is turned up compared to none and filter 1 and filter 3. And then I also have it set to both. So I wanted to include both world and interface. Now, what you want to do after that is go to the enemy color and click on it, and you want to turn saturation all the way to the max, brightness all the way to the max, and then apply it. This will make it so much easier to spot enemies while they're running around through the map. Don't even bother about changing yourself or your teammates. They're not as important as seeing the enemy. So that's what you want to do. Other things like right here, I haven't touched at all and just left them. And then world intensity and interface color intensity, I have maximized both of these so the colors pop out and you can see everything a lot more clearly. That is probably the most important setting here. Then for the gameplay HUD visibility, I have it turned on. HUD bounds, I didn't really touch this at all, so you can just change it depending on your monitor and all of that. And then radar, I have it set to off. Minimap visibility on, minimap rotation on, and compass on. Now for the crosshair, I jumped into the range or the firing testing area just to show you guys. So crosshair lines, I have that turned off. You don't want that on. And then for the crosshair dot, I have that set to on. Crosshair dot scale, I have it set to default. I don't want it to be too large. And then opacity to 100. Crosshair color, just pretty much default white. And then hit marker visuals on and damage base hit marker. So this is what it looks like. So it's literally just a dot. Makes it super easy to see and just shoot people. So it's like you don't need to worry about the other crosshairs and that other stuff, which I feel like the lines are unnecessary. And this just makes it a lot easier to see. So this is pretty much all the settings that you need to know about. Hopefully this does help you guys out and gives you guys some good settings, but let me know if there's anything else that I missed out on that you think would be better to change or update. But anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for tuning in, and hopefully I'll be seeing you guys again. Peace.